This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome to the Hockeytown West Podcast, your source for everything Toledo Walleye and Grand Rapids Griffins hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
And I'm Travis.
And we are without Nick again for a Toledo episode. I don't like this habit we're developing here. This isn't good, but he's a big boy and has a big boy job. Not that we don't either, but his hours suck sometimes.
Yeah, we got like almost banker's hours, it feels like.
My days are about to get really busy here soon. Your schedule stays the same, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, man, jumping into this, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Today was my Friday because we don't work Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But
must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the rain though, I was changing road signs all day and changed about 20 of those in the rain. So
that sounds terrible.
It was like that annoying rain to where it's just like spitting, but it was like 20 mile an hour winds, and it was just like, this sucks.
Yeah, good to see you guys where you're at least dodge some of the bad weather the other day. Holy crap, it's been wild out here.
Yeah, that I seen it, like we were talking about it in Michigan and then even some parts of Ohio. Just I pray everybody got through that safely and as minimal damage as anyone could wish for everybody. Yeah,
seeing tornadoes that size, like I know Ohio sees them occasionally, but not that often. And seeing them in Michigan the size they were, I don't think I've seen that in my lifetime, at least that I can remember or paid attention to. So yeah, that's crazy. Not far from home either, only about 40 minutes away. So insane stuff. But what's also insane is what the Toledo Walleye have been up to so far in the second round of this playoff series against Wheeling, because they're up 3-0, folks. This is not what we would have predicted, especially how game one went. I think I didn't see this coming.
I didn't either. I really thought this was going to, I thought this was going to be like how game one was, real tight scoring series, but boy, the floodgates opened last night, which we'll get to.
Yes. Yeah, the floodgates did open. But yeah, let's jump into game one here. You were at this game, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So the Toledo Walleye end up winning this one 2-1 in overtime. It was a tight game, like he said. Wheeling got the scoring started in the second period. There was no goals in the first. In the first, Wheeling actually outshot Toledo 8-6, which was a completely new territory for them so far in these playoffs. And then in the third period, Mitchell Lewandowski got the Walleye at least tied up with his second of the playoffs with Matt Anderson assisting. And then who else in overtime at about the 10-minute, 51-second mark? Brandon Hawkins gets the overtime game winner in game one, just like he did in round one, his third of the playoffs from Bliss and Anderson. And the Fish take a 1-0 series lead here. They ended up outshooting Wheeling 35-24. They just came on in the third period, 17-2 in shots in the third. Absolutely insane. John Letterman gets to start in this one, stopped 23-24. Castor at the other end for Wheeling, stopped 33-35. And both teams failed to convert on the power play. The penalty kills were both great. Toledo went 0-4, though. Wheeling only went 0-1. So kind of walk me through this game, man, because you texted me at the beginning of this one and said it was rough.
Yeah, like I said, so these teams only played 4 times this year, which, when you are in this division, there's a lot of in this league in general, there's a lot of inter-division games, right? We played Kalamazoo, 14 times, and
it felt like
probably about a dozen, and I know we played Fort Wayne probably over 10 times, and then Idaho, I think we played them 9 times. Well, you only seen Wheeling 4 times, so it's kind of like you didn't really know what to expect, right? It really felt like a feeling out process for the whole game, honestly, even in the third and overtime. But especially in that first period, Wheeling came out. They're a big, heavy team. And they really just, it was like they're going to hit you. They're going to hit you. They're going to try to hit you in the third row. And then they're going to try to run you over. And it was just like, oh, boy. Which, if you've been a fan of this team for a long time, we've always seemed to be a little bit smaller than a lot of teams, smaller with skill. And them teams that love to come in with the bigger bodies just try to beat you down into submission. But Yeah, we had like 10 shots in with like 5 minutes left in the second period. And it was just like, I said to Kels, I was like, this is one of the most boring hockey games for Toledo I have ever been to. And there was like people sitting in front of us, and the lady turned around, she goes, you're right. Like, this is kind of boring. And I was like, this is how Wheeling's have to play to keep this a series. Keep it low scoring and just hope that their goaltender could stop one more than ours. And fortunately, the third period came, and it was like, all right, we got to get this game tied in between the third and overtime. They outshot them 23-5. Toledo outshot Wheeling 23-5. And Lewandowski was out here swinging for the fences, trying to knock one out of fifth, third field on him in Monroe Street, and buried one with out of midair, just swing and made some contact.
Never works.
Yeah, I mean, they don't towel, right? And I mean, it was late in the game too. There's, at the 14:40 mark of the second period, you're getting into like, okay, a couple more minutes for me pulling the goaltender here. And then the end of the third, I thought we were going to win the game in regulation after we tied it, because it was like, all right, balls to the walls, we're going to try and score again. And it went to overtime, and Mr. Cheat Code decided to just become Annie Oakley sharpshooter. And just I just, it's unbelievable. His shot's so silly.
It's ridiculous. And the amount of shots he takes is also ridiculous. He had 13 shots on goal in this game.
Yeah, Lefferman had a really good game too. I mean,
he did.
He played really well, I thought.
Yeah, I caught the highlights on this one and watched a little bit of it replayed the next day, because we were at the Griffins game the night that this was going on. And yeah, it was tough. You could tell it was tough for these guys. You're right. The feeling out process was definitely there. But when you're a team like Wheeling and you come out and you're just trying to hit everything that moves, I mean, we saw that once in the regular season in the NHL where Ottawa did that. So I don't remember who they were playing. And then the next game they played, they were gassed. They couldn't keep up with, like, I think it was Washington. Mm-hmm. And they got smoked. Like, you can do that, but it's not sustainable. You got to figure out an actual game plan. And if your game plan is just to hit the whole time, you're going to be gassed for the next game, which we'll get to there. But it's good to see that Walleye still found a way to win this one. This game could have gone either way very easily. But seeing Letherman looked very dialed in this game.
Yeah, he was dialed. Matt Anderson dialed 2 assists. And we had a New Zealand loan sighting.
That was cool too.
Rang the cowbell. Like, so it's kind of cool because, like, it was like kind of right when I started to go to games was when he was there, and then at the beginning of Watson, and they said, welcome back, head coach. And I'm like, well, it's not going to be Watson. Grand Rapids is playing right now. And then I was like, it's got to be Malone. And Kels looked over at me. She's like, it can't be Watson. Grand Rapids is playing. And I was like, it's got to be Derek Malone. And they put his face on the Jumbotron with the big sledgehammer, and place lost it.
That's so awesome. Like, good for him to come out to the Walleye game like that, and for the place to just explode like that. Like, that's awesome. I love seeing that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad it got the crowd going. The crowd's always good there, obviously. Another sellout in this game, and it got the boys there. They took the 1-0 lead in the series, and we move on to game 2 on Saturday. And you had a little bit of a surprise yourself there on Saturday night when you're sitting there on the concourse, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see me and Nick, and you didn't say we were coming.
No, you didn't. And it was funny too, because like I told you guys, I got there late, like reasonably late for how normally I'll get there, but I was busy during the day, and I took my cousin's husband with me, his first ever Walleye game, and we were standing there eating, and I'm like, that's a Red Kettle jersey, and then I was like, that's Brandon, and I was like, that's Brandon. I was like, Brandon, and then Nick comes around the corner. I couldn't even see him because like there were so many people, and I'm like, oh, what are you guys doing here? But yeah, that was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was glad we could make it down there for that. Nick's first playoff game of the season for the Walleye so far. I know he enjoyed it. And, after the way round 1 went with Hawks scoring the game winner in OT, and I ended up at game 2 in Toledo, I felt like it was right. Like, we had to make that happen again. We just had to keep the streak going. Now, if the same thing happens in round 3, like this is going to get really difficult and expensive. This is getting out of hand. But yeah, I'm glad we can make it down. Always a good time to be in Toledo. We had a blast. Even going out afterwards and still getting home at 3 a.m. We were exhausted, but so worth it.
And you falling off of the back of next truck into the bed.
Hey, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
It was wet. It was wet outside. But
yeah, it was. But
it
yeah,
poured when we were in there. Like it poured rain when we were in there, and I didn't know it was supposed to really rain that hard. But
no, yeah, it made the drive home extremely foggy. That was the only complicated part. But yeah, there was I was not the responsible driver this time going to Toledo, so I definitely enjoyed myself because it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to have a beer inside the Huntington Center.
And you got seats in front of us again. It's like,
yeah,
it just works out. Like it's crazy.
Each time it's worked out. That's been a sign each time. But let's dive into the game. Not the antics that I got myself into there. Toledo ends up winning this game 5-3 to take a 2-0 series lead over Wheeling. Here's how the scoring went in this one. 7 minutes, 25 seconds into the first. Wilms gets his first of the playoffs with Lewandowski assisting. This was a great goal. I love everything about this and really love what he's brought to the table since he got signed. Wheeling did come back, though, about 10 minutes later and tie the game, but it didn't matter because Mitchell Lewandowski, 30 seconds later, puts the Walleye back ahead. His third of the playoffs with Graves and Bliss assisting on that one. And they go into the intermission with a 2-1 lead. They come out in the second, 4 minutes and 2 seconds in. Matt Anderson gets his first of the playoffs. Propavesis and Craggs get the assist on that one. Wheeling tries to come back and gets another goal there, but Toledo answers back again about 3 minutes later. Centazzo gets his first of the playoffs. I was wondering when it was going to come. He's been playing so well. Cruz and Craggs get the assist on that. Wheeling tries to get one more in there in the third, but Riley Sawchuk and Brandon Cruz come together there, and Sawchuk gets his fourth of the playoffs, empty netter, and the Walleye win this one 5-3. And what you told me Friday night about Wheeling being this heavy-hitting team, I did see some of that, but they definitely didn't play that game Saturday, which the Walleye just took complete advantage of.
That's hard to when you're chasing the game.
Yeah.
It's harder to do that. It's harder to play that style when you gotta keep trying to score goals, not just wear your opponent down. And it seemed like every time they'd respond with a goal, Toledo would just get the next one. And it would just and even last night same way. But Willems, right? Willems and Gilmore. Those two kids don't know how to lose a hockey game.
They really don't. They're really good. I'm so they got signed and everyone kind of went, "Who are you?" And they've been a perfect fit with this Walleye team.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't realize this, those two guys have not lost a hockey game this season, dating back to their college season.
Knock on wood here, real quick. Yeah, it's impressive. It's an impressive streak.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, it was crazy. But Jan Bednar did get the start in this one. Stopped 30 of 33. And Castor at the other end, 37 of 41. Toledo outshot Wheeling 42-33. And again, 2 games in a row. Neither team converts on the power play. Wheeling went 0 for 3, so good job to the Walleye PK there. And Toledo only had one opportunity. They went 0 for 1. Another sellout crowd at the Huntington Center, as per usual in the playoffs. Doesn't surprise us there at all. And a great crowd. And honestly, just overall, a great team game from the Walleye. I think up and down the ice, defense and offense and goaltending, they all had a good night. Sure, Jan led in 3, but that's the first time in the playoffs this season he's done that. And again, Wheeling's a little bit more of a difficult opponent than Kalamazoo. So
still a 909 save percentage, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh darn. Yeah.
Sorry,
I just love what they did. Yeah. I just love what the Walleye did in this game. I think it's not a perfect game, but it felt like a perfect game for the situation, especially with what they faced on Friday night.
Right. I think they got back to their identity more. They got more time and space, and with that skill and speed, that just you can utilize that when you have time and space, and you add those two together and you're going to have results, right? It's worked all year. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Cruz 2 assists, Craggs 2 assists, but the player that really stood out for me in the first 2 games of this series is Matt Anderson, right? 2 assists in the first game. Unreal redirection goal standing basically on the goal line. I don't quite understand how that puck went in, because that was at the opposite end from us when he scored. And it was like he was standing on the goal line pretty well, pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Like, it was either the bottom of either way. It was from an absurd angle. It shouldn't have gone in. But man, when the puck's finding you and you're making plays, good things happen, right? And they're happening for him right now.
Yeah, and I think my other favorite part of this game, outside of just the players, was the Toledo crowd seemed to have the Wheeling bench rattled in this game.
Garrett Sparks really rattled.
Dude, I've never seen a backup goalie go back and forth that much with a crowd around him. Like, that was insane, and it wasn't just him. There was other players too doing the same thing, but Garrett Sparks was rattled. Like, if for some reason the series ended up back in Toledo and he ended up in the net somehow, oh my God, it's going to be a nightmare for him. Those fans are going to be relentless.
Well, it's bad enough, right, when you have to start the game and you're the goaltender, right? Because you get the whole your name 3 times and then the whole "you suck" chant. Well, what was that in the third period? That the 107 section that we were sitting in got the Garrett Sparks chant going for the backup goaltender.
I've never heard that.
Bench. I've gone to games, like I said, since I was a kid, and that's dating back to the sports arena, and I had never seen that ever. And I was just like, oh my God, this guy is rattled, and he's not even playing.
Yeah, the fans, and again, for what we could hear, it was respectfully. Who knows at the same point? The chirps were back and forth for sure, but to hear a chant for the backup goalie took the cake. That's right there where I know I looked at Nick and I was just like, I love this building so much. Like, the fans here are so much fun. You don't get that anywhere else. That's like college level taunting right there.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, I was trying to explain to Austin like what he was in for, and I think he understood, but like until you see it, I don't think you fully get it. Like,
yeah,
and it's just such a crazy atmosphere, and when it's going well for Toledo and it's not going well for the other team, it's even worse. Like, there's no corners to hide in. It's just like you're just like, oh, we're defeated. There's nothing we can do.
And what I love too about Toledo's setup, like in Grand Rapids, the tunnels for both the benches are at each end. And in Toledo, they're in the dead center of the bench. So if you're sitting around that tunnel, you have access to chirp the entire bench. Right. So like, you can get anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. You can go after them. And God, those fans that sit there do a fantastic job.
Yeah, and one other thing to point out, what's Centazzo's goal, every skater, I believe, now has a point for the Toledo Walleye in the playoffs. He was like the one person that didn't have a point, and now everybody's got one. I'm pretty sure. I think you have the stats pulled up. I don't.
Do, and you're 100% accurate that every player, every skater has a point on this team.
That's played a game.
Yes. Insane stat right there in itself. But it was like,
Centazzo, like regular season, was one of the like higher scoring players on the team. So to have it be him, you'd think it'd be one of the guys that's not seeing the ice a lot, or as much as the other guys. But like, he's been fairly quiet, and they're still rolling. So it's like, and the whole we've talked about it, like with your guys' group message with the beat writers for the Griffins, and. Like, I was like, man, I wish Centazzo was playing with Hawkins and this. That was a good group throughout the season. Literally, like 5 minutes later, puck's in the back of the net, and it's just like, here's your words, eat them.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, he finished 4th on the team in scoring on the regular season, so it was weird. Like I said, it's not a matter of if for him; it was just when. Like, when's this going to happen? It was good to see him finally get on the score sheet, though. He's played an incredible playoff so far. It just hasn't worked out on the point side for him. But the fact that they all have points is just absurd. Like, now Bedsy and Letherman got to get assists, or a goal. Like, let's go. I thought when Bednar got that puck on his stick in the end of the game there, where that net was empty at the other end, I thought he was going to go for it. I was like, this is going to be insane if this actually happens.
I think the roof might have actually fell off the building if he would have scored.
Yeah. I would have only imagined what the taunts sparks would have been. Like, our goalie scored, you're on the bench.
Not
Like,
only aren't you playing, but you're on the bench, and our goalie scored.
I can hear him now. Oh, I love it. Any other thoughts for this game from you?
No, I mean, just, it's a fun day. I mean, the surprise from you guys was a lot of fun, right? And not expected. So that was a lot of fun. It's always good to see you guys. And glad that you guys got, well, and even for Nick's sake, right? He didn't get to come last game. So just for him to be there and see the playoff atmosphere, which I'm sure
was his first playoff game there.
Which we'll talk about with him at a later date now. I mean,
yes, we will.
We tried to even be like, hey, you need to be here, but he's like, no, go ahead.
I know. I appreciate him for that, because that just means we can go to sleep a little earlier. But yeah, no, I'm sure we'll get his full opinion on that. I know I asked his girlfriend, who had to come with us as well. I was like, all right, what's better, Grand Rapids or Toledo? And she was like, oh, this by far. So yeah, it was a good time.
Get your tickets before you cannot get them. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yep. 100%. Everyone should already be buying tickets for the next round if they're available, which I think they are.
Well, I mean, yeah, the next game is I think it's E for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's 2 more in Wheeling and maybe, but I don't think it's coming back. I don't think it's coming back.
Well, the reason we say that is because we switch over to game 3 now, and Toledo gets their first game on the road in the series in front of a whopping 1,400 people and wins 7-3. And I didn't get to watch this game. I was at a concert enjoying myself there. This one was wild, though. Luckily, you were texting, giving me updates throughout the whole thing. And here's how the scoring broke down here. In the first period, 2 minutes, 44 seconds into it, Riley Sawchuk gets his 5th goal of the playoffs, unassisted. I didn't see this goal. You'll have to break it down here in a second. Shortly after about 14-minute mark of the first there, Sam Craggs gets his 5th of the playoffs with Riley Sawchuk and Propavasis assisting on the power play. God, we were looking for that. Wheeling does get one about 1:18 later, but Toledo was able to get one more at the 18-minute, 19-second mark of the first there. Brandon Cruz gets his 2nd of the playoffs from Craggs, assisting on that one as well. Second period comes around, 3 minutes, 33 seconds in. The human cheat code, Brandon Hawkins, gets his 4th of the playoffs with Riley Sawchuk and Lewandowski assisting on the power play. So that's power play goal number 2. Wheeling does add another one at the 7-minute mark, but at the 11-minute, 28-second mark of the period, Riley Sawchuk gets his 2nd of the game and 6th of the playoffs from Wilms and Craggs on the power play. 3rd power play goal of the game. Near the end of the second, Wheeling does get on the board again. 3rd period, 17-minute mark. Alexander Doucette gets his 1st of the playoffs from Sawchuk, empty netter, and Craggs adds one more empty netter for his 6th of the season from Centazzo and Matt Anderson. And holy smokes, it's a lot of goals to break down there. John Letherman, easy night for him, stopping 19 of 22. He's only faced 22 shots. And Castor at the other end stopped 16 of 21. And then Mr. Garrett Sparks himself had to come in and relieve him. Did stop 7 of 7. And I'm assuming we might end up probably seeing him for the next game at this rate, the way things are looking, since their other goaltender seems to still be out. And like we said, Toledo, 3 power play goals out of 5 opportunities there. And then they were a perfect 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. Love seeing that. Walk me through this game, Travis. What the heck happened? Because this is not the score I expected to see in their first game in Wheeling.
Yeah, I had a crazy day, as you guys know. But I got home right as this game started. So, I'm standing outside with the dog watching it on my phone, waiting for him to go to the bathroom. And I was literally watched probably half the first period on my phone. But Sawchuk gets a breakaway and just over the shoulder. The goalie didn't really even move. I think it just he wasn't expecting the release when it happened. And it was just in and out so fast, 1-0. The Craggs goal, honest to God, Initially, I didn't even know how it went in because he was cutting to the front of the net and it went in, he slid it on the ice and went in short side. The goalie was kind of he must have been just pushing off when Craggs slid it that way. And it just found that little gap and ended up in the net. Cruz with a nice goal effort. I mean, he got stopped on the first attempt and then goaltender goes to dive. Cruz picks up his own rebound and he's standing at the crease. Shoots it and it hits the blade, right? So the goalie's got his stick reach out, trying to use his paddle or the blade of his stick to make a save. Hits this the the blade of his stick and then shoots into the far side of the net. So it didn't even hit like the near side. It went back the other way the goalie's coming from and went in that side of the net. Then there's the Hawkins goal, which we were talking about. Like,
yeah,
is a 5-on-3, and like he got the puck and like he basically, I know you've seen this goal because we were talking about it, but if I recall right, like he was standing on like the bottom of the face-off dot, like the circle, and like he's got a dude wide open. Basically 2 guys wide open because there's one standing on the other side of the net, one's in the slot. And he's just like, no, I'm just going to barrel this thing on the ice through the goalie. Like, I see the replay. I was like, how did it go in? B, it probably should have been stopped. That's a bad goal. That's a bad goal. And like, it's just like, he just continues to almost amaze, but you can't even be amazed. Sometimes it's just like, oh, yep, he scored again. Well, shocker.
Yeah.
The second Sawchuk goal is a beauty too. Play down low, come right out in front to him, and he just sniped, like picked corner. Unreal shot. This game was the Riley Sawchuk game. I mean,
5 points.
He was rolling. I mean, he was there to play, and big game for him. And then the 2 empty net goals at the end. But it's again, like Toledo got to 2-1, the 2-0 lead, and then Wheeling will get the response, and then Toledo would get another goal, go up by a goal, and then Hawkins scored, made it 4-1, and Wheeling's got a response, and then Sawchuk makes it 5-2, and then Wheeling makes it 5-3, and it's like one of my friends texted me like, we got to stop letting them back in this game. I was like, dude, I don't even think this game feels close. Like, yes, they need, like, yes, it's only a couple shot game, but like, and they are getting goals, but at the same time, it's like, dude, like everything we shot, it just felt like it was going in. Like, it just was one of them nights to where it almost felt like the third game against Kalamazoo where like everything was going in.
Yep.
It kind of felt,
ironically, this is game 3 as well. So
right. We're on a big time trend.
Yeah.
But like, and even like their third goal, it did get reviewed, Wheeling's third goal, and it was close. Like, player's right skate kind of hit Letheman, and then he shot it in. Like, Letheman's pad went into the net, and then he shot it in. And they ruled it as a goal. So, but you are allowed to pursue the puck in the crease. So, I mean, ultimately, it really didn't matter. But the crazy thing is, like, I texted you, and you were like, bummer, we still won the game. I was like, this is our first game with a goaltender under 900 save percentage since like mid-March. And you're like, bummer, too bad we put up 7.
Yeah, like, oh darn, just like we said with Bedsy in that last game, like, oh, he let in 3, but
the guy didn't even play bad. Like, he didn't have a bad game by any means. Like, he still played a solid game. It's just like, numbers are numbers, but sometimes numbers only can, it doesn't matter if you're getting 7. If you're getting spotted 7, like, you can afford to give up a couple. Like,
yeah, you can take it easy. Maybe try something new at that shot. Oh, let's see if this works, and maybe it didn't. Oh darn, he's basically practicing out there at that point.
Yeah, just it is what it is, right? And the Chase Caster and Sparks comes in. Thank God it wasn't in Toledo, because
my God,
imagine if Garrett Sparks had to come into the game in Toledo in game 2.
It would have been ugly. He would have. Yeah, it could have gone a lot of ways. It's weird to see Castor get left in for 5. Like, I thought, like, I was like, okay, they switched goalies. Was that like a third period Sparks came out? But no, like, they left him in for 5. And at that point, after the game before, I'm like, you think you would have pulled him at 3 or 4? Like, especially the Hawk goal. Like, that's a bad goal to give up. So yeah, I'm assuming, unless the other guy, I don't remember his name at this point, if he comes back from injury or whatever's going on, I'm assuming we see Sparks start game 4.
You would think, right? I mean, so you got to try something if you're Wheeling, right? I mean, look at what Carolina did tonight. They went with Peter Kochetkov, but they're trying to get a spark. So in theory, that's a good idea, right? For them to run Sparks for their sake. But I mean, I don't think it really matters who's in the net right now, because Toledo's offense is it's humming, right?
They are rolling.
It's humming. It's like just it's unbelievable. And like my one friend, he's getting into hockey. I texted him. I was like, "Oh yeah, our win streak can go to the bar now. We're casually at 21 straight. We're legal to go do shots at the bar." And he's
21.
like, "That's insane." I was like, "No, think about that. They have not lost a hockey game since mid-March. Like, this is silly."
This is insane. Like, I know it's going to end at some point. Like, it has to. Like, 21 is just stupid insane. Like, that's a historic hockey run in any league. Like, it doesn't matter. But
And
21,
it's so
man.
hard to win like 2 or 3 in a row. 21 games. Like you said, this isn't going to last, right? It's not it's not. I don't see it happening.
No.
Nick seems to think that they're never going to lose again, and
which great if they don't. Like,
if they, I told him yesterday, I was like, "Dude, you're literally Shoresy. Like, we're never going to lose again." But I mean, it's fun, right? And you're just like, like I look ahead to what we could be coming into, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit here. But just to wrap this game, I mean, just the fast starts, right? Getting a lead, not looking back, building on it, contributions up and down the lineup. You got Craggs, Sawchuk, Anderson on defense. Doucette got a goal. Empty net, still got to put it in the net. Lewandowski, which he left the game, didn't return for the third period. I would almost just sit him tomorrow. Give him a game, like give him a rest day. I don't know. Injuries aren't really they're not disclosed to the public like they are in the NHL. So,
yeah, of course.
Nobody really knows. Hopefully, it's minor, but you're up 3-0. Maybe give one of these guys that's been sitting a game, just to keep them somewhat fresh, and you can afford to play with it a little bit here. You've given yourself a 3-0 lead, but I think, and we've said it all year, plug and play, right? Plug and play. Guys were in the American League. They signed college kids. They still win. So I think it's just a matter of, making sure Lewandowski's healthy for down the road. Hopefully it's nothing major. Maybe he plays tomorrow, right? And that'd be great if he does. But, we'll see. And I just have enough faith with the lineup as a whole that if he were to not play tomorrow or, anything serious, hopefully that's not the case. But I think there's enough depth on this team that, some adversity is not going to kill this team. Like, at some point you're going to face it, right? They faced it a little bit at points in this series and in the first series. And adversity is a good thing to deal with because you're gonna deal with it at some point in a playoff run. But up to now, they haven't really had a lot of it, and it's just been it's just like we're rolling, and it's just fun to watch.
Even like I said with the goalie thing last night, I'm like, oh, if bummer, like that happened. Like, even if they lose a game, it's going to be like, oh, bummer, like
right
on the next one. And I think the guys will approach it the same way. Like,
it's
if
just
the streak
game.
ends, oh well, it's just another game. In their mind right now, they're going into tomorrow's game. They're going into that series tied 0-0. Next game, here we go. Like, I think that's the mentality they're carrying, and it's clearly working. And like you said, the depth up and down this lineup. If Louis got to sit tomorrow, Louis got to sit. Like, it's okay. And even if he doesn't, it looks like he might have some extra time to recoup as we wait for every other series to finish. So I don't know, man. This team's special. And the question I was going to pose to you at the end of this here was, is this team better than last year's team?
Ah, man, it's tough, right? I mean, so a lot of people are going to see, your average fan, right? You're going to see 20, 21 wins in a row, 18 wins in a row. This team's better.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a fair point. Okay. I don't think people realize how special it is to win so many games in a row, like to your average person. But it's tough. Like, that's like, I think it's like flipping a coin, to be honest, because it's a much different team. I think what's so fascinating about this group And Hawkins even said it. They're a younger team this year. Last year they had a little bit of veteran presence. This year it's a lot of younger players. And that's just a credit to what the coaching staff's done, right? They've got these guys to buy in at a crazy good level. Everybody knows their role. They're comfortable with who's ever playing in net. They know who's going to be playing in net when, and they don't play differently in front of them. They're playing within their structure. They're playing with how they want to play. And I really don't know. That's one of the things, right? You'd love to see last year's team on the ice against this year's team on the ice, which would be cool because then you get to see Brandon Hawkins play against himself. So it'd be kind of funny to see, but I don't know. It's hard to compare, right? Each year's different. Each team's different. There are similarities, right? There are players from last year's team on this team, but they're just a lot of fun to watch ultimately. And, enjoy the ride while you're on it, right?
Yep.
It's I can't stress enough to this fan base. It's incredibly hard to win one round of the playoffs. Like, it's hard to win 4 times in 7 games against a team is very difficult. And they've done it once. They're on the verge of doing it twice. And then you still got to do it 2 more times. So, I will say, I was thinking about it at work today, like, man, I'm starting to feel like, could this be the year, right? And last year, about this time, you're thinking the same thing. And then you get to the conference finals, and it was like, oh, my God. Like, you think we're there, and it's like, wow, we still got, it's like, but the more you knock on that door, right, one of these years it's going to open, right? It's just knock on the door, keep doing the things they're doing. And I think eventually good things are happening, right? And it could 100% happen this year with how it's going. But it's just, I'm just taking this day to day and enjoying it.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I figured you'd answer the question when I posed it to you. Like, again, you look at the statistics, right? Like, sure, whatever. But like, the team is pretty much the same as last year. What I think when you look at last year's team, if they wouldn't have had to deal with some of the adversities they dealt with in the conference finals, I think that result in that season is a little different as well. I think they don't go through what they had to go through in Idaho. We're talking a different ball game here. And hopefully this year we're not dealing with the same thing. I don't think they will. I think they're going to plan very well ahead of that as an organization. I think they know what to expect. And this team can play against anybody in this league at this point. I've seen around the league what teams are doing. We talked Kansas City and Idaho, like that's a powerhouse matchup that's happening right now, and we're gonna have to play one of those 2 teams when we move on. And then you look at what the Everblades are doing again, and what they did last round, and they're a powerhouse. But like, this Walleye team is special, and you look at it, what you expect after the regular season. You expect to open up the stats page and see Brandon Hawkins leading the team in points. He's not. You see Sam Craggs is leading. You see Riley Sawchuk is tied with him. His first season in Toledo, and he's tied with him. You have the breakout of Sam Craggs, and you got Lewandowski and Bliss right behind him. And like you said, every player on this team has a point right now. Like, everyone's contributing. Everybody's rolling. The cohesiveness of this team is absolutely insane right now. So, like you said, enjoy the ride, because this is, like, I love covering the Griffins, but I do always look forward to doing this episode each week, because just we're talking about some bonkers things. 21 wins in a row between the regular season and playoffs right now. Yeah. Just be able to watch this is special. So yeah, you're right. Everybody enjoy it, because who knows if this will ever happen again? You don't know. And if they do it again next year, like, oh my God, I have so many more questions about what's in the water in Toledo, because Jesus Christ.
I've said it for years. We've almost been spoiled down here, right?
Yeah, you think?
Like, well, and I say that because, like, the popularity for this team grows, right? You're seeing it every night. They sell out every game. These newer fans, they see them go to the conference finals every year, right? Like, it seems like they're getting there almost every year. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, there were some dark years for Toledo at the beginning of the wall. And like until Derek Long got there were some dark years. And like just you have to enjoy it, right? And you know, it is cup or bust. I think the players know that. Like some of them have even said it, right? And let's just reiterate the fact that they win tomorrow, they still got to win 8 more games. So please enjoy this day by day. And, you know, if you can just be happy watching this, just enjoy it, right? You're never going to, you just don't, I shouldn't say never because it almost happened last year too, but this run they're on right now is just, it's so special.
Yeah. It's a special team full of special players, man. It's crazy. Like I said, I've never seen anything like this. And you're right. There was dark times. And, you know, I look at the Griffins. There was dark times just very recently with this team in the Ben Simon era. And you look at Detroit. There was dark times very recently. Like, you know, when those special moments come about, you know, 96 to 2008 in Detroit, you're like, that was a special time. In Grand Rapids, 2013 to 2017, that was a special time. And right now, it's a special time for Toledo. And I hope everyone's having as much fun as we are with this, because this is just stupid insane at this point. I
mean, it's like
I don't even know what to say.
Oh, it's like every day, like we're talking about this, and it's like, it just doesn't make. It's like how, like, you know, like, and then you throw the Griffins in there too, and it's like it's just so much fun. Like our group text on a daily basis is so much fun to just like be a part of. It's like there's never a dull moment to begin with, but then like you have so much excitement with all of this is going on, right? You have 2 teams that, you know, we're covering going on these playoff runs. It's just so much fun to be a part of, right? And, you know, it's just been so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think back to last year, like when we were covering a dark year for the Griffins, and we just started, you know, dabbling in Toledo because of Kosa at the time, and being like, okay, here's the happy part of the episode. We're going to talk about Toledo. And now they get a whole episode weekly because of it. How do we not? How do we not? Like, there's no way we could cram in what's happening into a Griffins episode at this point. And the team, the town, and everyone deserves a full episode at this point.
It's funny because, like, you know, when I first started giving you guys information around like Christmas time, like you'd listen to the episodes, it's like the last like 10 minutes. And now it's a whole episode where you talk for almost an hour about it. And
they like, still somehow squeeze into the Griffins one sometimes. It's crazy. So,
oh man, I mean, you know, looking forward to this. Like, you know, they get through Wheeling, right? Obviously, still got to win that 4th game. Toughest thing to do in a team season. Hopefully, they get it done tomorrow. But you know, I am all for Idaho and Kansas City. Just 7 games of just beat each other up, please. Like, and I just when I seen the formats. So, like for people that don't know, if they get Idaho, it's a 2-3-2 format. If they get Kansas City, it's a 3-4 format. I cannot stress how much I cannot stand that there is a thing in which you're going to have to play your first 3 games at home and then go on the road for 4. Like,
that's correct, because we wouldn't have home ice against Kansas, would we?
No. So, like, and it's just like, if you don't take care of home ice, like say they get Kansas City, right? And they were to happen to not take care of home ice, which hasn't been a problem so far, but, you know, at some point there's going to be adversity, right? You know, it's going to happen. Then you got to go out there for 4 games. You know what I mean? Like, that is a tall order. So I am rooting heavy for the Steelheads, but you know, it's out of our control. So
the only benefit we have in that is that the fact that the average attendance between Kansas City and Idaho so far in that series has been like 4,000. So
yeah, but they're both very good teams, in which that, you know, we get through this series, carry enough. There's going to be a feeling out process in them, whoever they play, right? They get through Wheeling.
Yep.
Because they have not played a single game against the Mountain Division this year. Not one.
Yeah.
Like that, again, gets into the point of travel and the expenses. And that division is so spread out compared to all the other ones. But it's just, you know, and for a lot of the fans, I feel like it's probably going to be like, oh man, this is where we didn't get it done last year. If we get this far again, right? You know, there's going to be some doubt, but just again, go back to the whole day by day, enjoy it. So
look, there was doubt going into first round against Kalamazoo after how the regular season went, and look what happened. Like, you can doubt all you want, but just you never know. It's it could be anything. So I'm interested to see what happens. I can't wait to see what happens. Honestly, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I could stand for a
Florida
couple
in the East. Just Cam Johnson becomes the second coming of Christ in the playoffs, which just it's crazy. But
we'll deal with them when we get there. But
I want Florida in the finals because they got us.
You want some revenge, don't you?
The guy we interviewed was in that series, and you think he shoots the puck a lot now. He's gonna shoot. He might have 100 shots if they play Florida in the finals.
If there's a nice, if things get taken care of against whoever wins the Mountain Division, if they get taken care of quickly, we'll have to see if that's a possibility to get him back on here before that, just to really get the hype going for that round.
The over under for shots, if that matchup were to happen, it's got to be 40. Like
that's insane to think about.
But we got to get there first.
We do got to get there. Outside of that, man, anything else you could think of to add to this week's Walleye update?
No, let's get it done tomorrow. Let's break out brooms again, right? Let's break out brooms and then worry about the West final.
And it looks like a decent amount of Walleye fans making the trip tomorrow as well. So safe travels to them and have fun with it. They always go in and cause a ruckus. They were loud last night. And all the highlights, you could hear them. You could hear whoever was there. I don't know how many were there, but you could definitely hear them.
There'll be a big crew. There'll be a pretty big group. I mean, I don't know how big it'll be. It probably not as big as Kalamazoo, but I could be wrong. That Facebook group, it's every day. Like, who's going to the game? Where do I sit? What sections? It's like, holy cow! Like, man,
I love it.
Like, I'm sitting here. I'm like, man, I got to pay for my season tickets plus the playoffs, let alone road tripping. Like, you guys are going to Griffin's games, Saginaw, Toledo. Hey.
My Uber Eats account has been pretty lonely since the playoffs started. Let's just put it that way. You got to save money somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So,
that's all I got, man. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night.
Me as well. Reminding everyone, puck drops around 7 o'clock. They said 7:10 last night. I'm sure 7:10 again tomorrow. These weird ECHL puck drop times. But follow along with us. We'll have all the highlights and everything like that as much as we possibly can. I think I might actually be covering the game on the Twitter page for us. I might actually be posting some highlights with this one. So stay tuned. We'll see how technology wants to work with me and just life in general. There's some big milestones this weekend. My father's birthday, Mother's Day, and my sister turns 21 all in this weekend. So
you're gonna have
you might see coverage from me, or you might you might see coverage from me, or you might not hear from me at all. Who knows? But either way,
everybody, thank moms. Go see your moms. We wouldn't be here without our moms. All right. So everybody on Sunday, go see your moms and give them all the love and happiness on Sunday.
And walleye gear. Give them that too.
Yeah. I don't listen, they'll be happy with whatever you get them. It don't matter if it's a walleye shirt, it could be a Griffin's jersey. I mean, it could be anything. They'll be happy with just your presence is fine, I'm sure though.
Amen to that. Well, with that, everyone, we will wrap this episode up. Thank you for tuning in. But first, let's thank our sponsor, Everything Hockey. Make sure you go over to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST. Get $3 off your order. Pick yourself up a hoodie or t-shirt. All right, pick up mom a gift. Who knows? Not a bad idea there. Thank you to Travis for making this happen as well today, early enough where this is going to be out early enough. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. We hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Go Walleye, go Griffins, and we will talk to you all on Monday.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey.